Hello there, and a fair evening to you, travelers. I trust you are enjoying yourselves here, at this fine tavern. It is always good to share a cup of wine with good company on a night as dreary as this. And believe me when I say that I know good company, for I have spent many years around the most unsavory of sorts. The scummiest of sea dogs, the foulest of rogues, were at one point in time the people I was charged to accompany. Pirate, you ask? Not hardly. I'm sure you are familiar with Lady Ares Florina, noble regent of Ophora. I am a second nephew of hers, Captain Paranthes Ferris, commander of the Star Solstice. Well, at least I used to be. But I haven't set foot near harbor or beach in over a year now. What am I doing out here? Oh, I'm not sure that you want to know. Well, if you insist, I'd better get my cup refilled. Pardon, alas, if you please. My thanks. As I said, I was, until recently, captain of the Star Solstice, a ship crafted by the hands of master shipbuilders in Ophora. She is a beauty, and bore me safely on many a voyage. Though she was built to handle long sea journeys, we kept her relatively close to the mainland, never more than a day or two out. For nearly a decade, I commanded a crew of well-trained ship hands and soldiers. We were tasked with the defense against and the apprehending of pirates. We would sail as far west as the Bay of Thunder in Garpa, and as far as Belseth Lor, Typhris. A little over 1 year ago, me and my men we were given an assignment from Admiral Leobentus. He had informed me that a well-armed Typhirian pirate ship had set sail for the east, with intent to attack and seize merchant vessels coming out of the kingdoms of the eastern lands. As you probably know, we tried to keep out of the affairs of foreign nations, such as Typhris. However, a number of these Easterners' vessels were headed for our kingdom, due to land in Sordaria, in fact. They carried many unknown and exotic goods, and merchants in Sordaria and Dulcium were eager to establish a trade with them. It was assured to be profitable, so you can see the interest our own admiral had in this matter. So we bore out of radiant Ophora, headed east. We sailed as swiftly as we could, hoping against hope that we would arrive before the merchant vessels had been attacked. Eager to pit this lowly pirate ship against the Star Solstice, one of the shining jewels in the Pelagosian Armada. We sailed for over 3 weeks, with no sign of any pirate activity. It was farther than the crew had ever been before. Some were nervous, being in such unfamiliar waters, but I remained steadfast in my resolve. On the 25th day of our voyage, we passed the Horn of Neval and spotted the pirate ship no more than 3 miles off the coastline. It was as it had been described, a mid-class great ship of Typhirian design, with dark-stained wood and long, triangular sails. The first thing that struck me as odd was that the ship's black flag was raised, though it was alone and anchored. Typically, this flag was only flown during sieges or when attempting to intimidate an opposing ship's crew into a surrender. We raised the Pelagosian royal colors as we neared, but there was no response. The pirate ship sat there, rocking in the waves. I remember the second officer calling to me, "Sir, they're anchored! Let's close in and apprehend them! They have no chance!" "Wait," I said. "Something is not right." I called to the crewman in the crow's nest, asking him what he saw. "Nothing, sir. I see nobody. The lifeboats are still on board," he called down to me. "They are there. They are waiting for us. It is a trap, sir," said the second officer. so I ordered a careful approach, all eyes on the lookout. We neared the ship, but still, not a soul was on deck. We weighed anchor and prepared to board the pirate's vessel. I took myself and some of my best crewmen, including a mage from the Vaishyan College of Elements, in case we needed an expert in arcane lore. We went aboard the dark and foreboding ship, and immediately felt a gnawing unease. I remember there being a foul smell, and a number of the men said it smelled like the stench of a corpse. There was something else to the smell as well, though I couldn't place it. Something that faintly burned at the backs of the nostrils. We searched the upper deck, but found nobody. There were 2 lifeboats lying at skewed angles, each with its binding ropes cut. The paddles were strewn about. It looked as if somebody had hastily tried to ready an emergency escape, but had not managed to flee. The door to the captain's cabin was ajar, and banging softly with the rocking of the ship. I flung it open and peered within. The small room was in a disarray of papers, books, and all manner of personal effects. On the cabin floor I spotted a gleaming object, an amulet. It and its chain were made of gold, intricately detailed with an unfamiliar iconography. The amulet was engraved with the image of a 3-headed person, each face in a different direction, and was inlaid with precious jade and ruby. I held up the trinket, but none could guess as to its origin. "We go below deck," I ordered. The men looked at me nervously and nodded. Being the captain of honor that I was, I took the lead. I lifted the heavy latch and was immediately struck by an increase in the pungency of the stench. I waited but a minute, ordering lanterns be lit, as there appeared no source of light below. Holding out my lantern, I descended the wooden steps. I stopped at halfway, at which point I observed a deep crimson blood spatter on the stair. Swiveling my light, I saw that the blood streaked a thick trail down the steps, across the floor, and went under a shut door. I drew my rapier. I took in a deep breath, as deep as I could, as deep as the repulsing air would allow me to. Cautiously I moved on, following the dark red liquid. As I reached the door, I raised my boot and I kicked it open, ready for anything. The interior of the room looked as though it had been struck by a cyclone. Bedding, sheets, clothing, splintered wood, shattered glass. The whole of the chamber seemed to have been chewed up and spewed back out. And upon nearly object and every broken scrap clung globs of thick blood. I could bear the sight no longer, and I stepped back into the center of this narrow hall where awaited my anxious crew. Each held aloft a lantern and a sword, or a shield and a spear, save but the mage scholar, who was glancing intensely at some esoteric tome while gripping the haft of a wooden staff set in with the arcane runes. At this point, I could have turned back, but doing so would have been leaving my duty unfulfilled, though now I wish that I would have.